And Marco, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and nice to see you all. And it's nice just to warm up before the seminar, so we can start having more conversations and discussions. Again, the webinar talks about trade practices or promotional practices, which are, I would say, in general, are similar to what happens throughout the world. If you go to India or if you go to any other country in the world, you'll see some variation of what I'm going to expose here, but probably is more going quickly through the presentation, and then try to get more discussions and try to understand from you what are your needs or what are your experiences, so the rest of the attendees can learn from this too. Again, we don't know everything. What I've said, I've been a consultant for 20 years, so we leave the business to the grown-ups. So we have been alongside most of you or some of you in different countries in Latin America. We've done trade missions to most of the countries in Latin America. But again, it's more about the follow up and the strategy that you may have. So I will go through a presentation. Again, it's a quick presentation, and I'm summing up part of the things that we saw on other webinars that we did with this series. Um, Basically, and if you can help me muting your phone, that would be great. As Hayden mentioned, I work for Immalinks. We are a go-to-market consulting firm, and we do all these trade services. So we have been working with trade groups from the US mostly for 20 years. We do some activity with others from New Zealand, but also, basically we have focused in helping you getting your products into Latin America. That's why we say it's your access to the heart of Latin America. It's not just knowing the language or knowing the market in general, but trying to go to the guts of it and try to help you be more efficient in accessing this market. As such, having doing this for this long, we have seen repetitive things that have prevented some companies to succeed in this market. And again, probably I'll defer to Lydia that actually I think I made my first trade show 18 years ago with her in Mexico, or Baman that I've known him for many, many years. Uh, because basically these countries, and I'll talk about Latin America in general, they take time. They're mature markets in some ways, even though they're developing economies. They're mature markets in some ways because they have had the large processors or the large food and beverage companies in market for 100 years, even more. I worked for Unilever, and I remember when they turned 100, that was 20 years ago in Brazil. So basically, again, the supply of products in general is not novel, which could be something different to other economies or other continents, where the trade with the U.S. or with Western products is newer. So you will see that in general in this country. So I'll just go real quick on what we have seen in other markets. Again, try to get context about all South America. It's a continent, so it's not just a country or a small region. It's twice the size of the US. A lot of people there. GDP is, it's uneven because of the size of countries. You can see Brazil, I think, is the third or fourth country in the world, the largest country in the world. And we have 12 different countries with different regulations. It's far. And also, it's in the southern hemisphere, so it will counter some of the products that you may sell or are sourced from the US. So you may have a Me Too or a competitor that may not be as developed in process, food safety, or good manufacturing practices in these countries, but they are getting ahead. They have a very good industry and also a heavy industry in processing machinery. Again, they're growing, so it's something that cannot be misunderstood. It's not what you see in the movies, and I'll talk about it later. The economy, you see them here: Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, Chile, and Peru are the largest. Argentina with challenges, especially with international trade. They have been local and a nationalist economy, and this administration tends to go further into that. Even though there is opportunity for US products, sorry, the economic landscape is a bit challenging there, especially for paying and getting paid in US dollars. The others have other restrictions that we talked about last session. And here are some highlights that probably I'll ask you to read them. You'll read faster than I talk. But again, it's a moderate growth, a lot of exports, export driven. There are some countries that have more opportunities like Brazil, neutral or with a question mark like Argentina and Venezuela that basically continues with the same administration for the next 6 years. Inflation is higher than the US. There's a lot of this depreciation in some of these countries. Inflation also affects. The central bank's policy is tight, and it's again challenging in some countries like Brazil or Argentina. Chile is more open, but it's too far. Volatility, commodities, they grow many commodities. Actually, we see how they are substituting some large US crops that traditionally were sourced from the US, like rice, corn, wheat, even popcorn. So they are growing and increasing their investment to increase the yield in these large crops. So again, it's a nation not to be sorry, a region not to be basically we cannot underestimate it. And also they have a lot of trade, especially with the US. So if your competitor is Italy or France or Spain, there in this region you will have them even more because of the cultural closeness that they have, and also because of supply chain. In some cases, it's even more logical to bring it from Europe. So these are the four main markets that we usually cover and the ones that we have talked about: Brazil, Colombia, Chile, and Peru. Now, basically, again, I've talked about this is just to have a context. These are the things that can affect for US products, mainly trade barriers. Not all of them have free trade agreements. The competition, mainly they favor regional products and currency fluctuations. The others can be managed, and I don't want to discourage you because, again, some of you have done trade missions to Chile or Brazil, and you can see that there's opportunity. But basically, you need to take more time, even than countries like Mexico or Panama or Colombia. I'm sorry, I put Colombia here as well. But Colombia at some point it's easier to do business with, but also has its challenges. So we talked about it before. Um, Now, how do you do trade activities? Basically, and we cannot stress this enough, get information about the markets. Understand what are the major competitors in the market and what are they doing. Usually they like to brag what they do, and usually you will be competing against a large company, even for processing food or for ingredients or for wine, but you will be competing with large companies like Unilever, Mondelez, P&G, Cargill. Actually, Cargill has a consumer products division in South America. So you will have them, and also you'll have the locals. But if you get reports and you get information, you can understand and identify your competitive advantage because it will be likely that your product will be more expensive than theirs. So again, the US origin helps, but it's not the first decision maker or decision point for the buyer or for the consumer. So you need to build your case around it and analyze what is needed in the market and what opportunities are there. Again, we've talked about organic, we've talked about healthy products, differentiated and ready to eat or ready to cook products in this region. They again, it's a developed economy, but their consumption trends can be a bit different to what you see in the US. And I remember some years ago we were in Chile, and the supermarket in general looks very much like a Walmart or a Safeway. But if you go in detail, you see how the packaging is different, how the product is probably lower quality, and the costs are lower than what you see from the US product. Um, so what do we recommend is get close, ask Wusara, Wusara can provide general information. It's hard to obtain distributors lists or importers emails. We've talked about it. You can try to do it, but your email will go to spam, or I mean, unless it's a more tailored approach. But what can help you the most is to get the gain reports for the from USDA. We've talked about it before. Um, we have access to your monitor reports. I just need to check with USARA how open that is for for companies. But we have access and we can provide general information. Euromonitor, and actually I had a meeting with them yesterday. They're good for a top view analysis of the market, and they can provide good information, but they may not provide the contact of the main importers. So again, it's a good reference. And in this case, when you build your competitive analysis, you may need different sources, like Passport from Euromonitor or Trade Atlas. Trade Atlas is a service that help you identifying using the HS code who is the main exporter and who is the main importer. So it's a good competitors analysis. We don't use it for exporters. We use it more trying to identify who are the main players in each country for specific HS trade codes. The limitation here is that probably it will be generic prepared meals or tomato products. So it's only at the 6-digit HS code level, but it can help you. And the membership is not that expensive. Would be probably a couple $100 per year. And I think you have like 10, sorry, like 10 HS codes that you can constantly monitor and track. And also Statista. Statista is good for also top level information, gives you trends, give you more statistics that can be found online, but they have a good set of reports that are similar to Passport. So they could be in some way competitors, but again, Passport has an agreement with USDA, so there might be something there. Again, get the documents and also use USARA resources. Again, we had consultations. I need to go back and check if we're going to reactivate them next year. So we can help you on the strategy coming into Latin America in general. Now, here again are the resources of all the countries that we talked about. Last session we got into into Brazil. But here you can have all the information, general information about them and their website. Oh, well, it doesn't work. But if you need, we can get you, well, there's an email, or we can contact you with Anna or Erica, and they're great assets if you want to go to this market. We know the people from Brazil, Colombia, Chile, with me, with MJ, and Peru. Argentina, we need to talk. We would need to research. But again, if you need specific contacts, probably we can help you connecting with these people. The one that probably I would pay attention would be Chile, because they have a large trade show in late September, last week of September and October, which is called Espacio Food Service. It's a show that has been growing. It started before pandemic, they suspended it, and now they went back. So it's a good trade show if you want to explore this region. It's a good point to start. It's a more I would say mild market. It's a better market to access, more centralized, and people are focus driven, but they're very nice too. So again, that's something you want to consider with Espacio. I'll give you more information later. And later, Baman, during the Q&A session, probably I'll ask you about your experience there, but we'll do it later. Now, what are your tools? What tools can you use? And again, in general, we have to take into account that you're far from this region. You're 4,000 miles, 6,000 miles from this region. So getting there, on constant basis is hard, it's difficult. So the first one that we recommend, and the easier and the cheapest one, is to start building a strong online presence in these markets. Here I put social media like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube, but I didn't put in the presentation LinkedIn. LinkedIn is well used in the region, especially with traders. So you may use LinkedIn as we all use it, try to find a friend of a friend, and you can find some importers. So again, what we do here when we work on these trade missions or we try to set up meetings, in general, is obviously we have a database, but if we have specific categories, that happens quite often with USARA, is that we check on the reports that I mentioned before. We use Passport or Trade Atlas, and then we see who are the companies, and then we start not Googling, but we start doing online research. We make calls to the ATO, and at some point, as a third tier resource for getting contacts there, we use LinkedIn. So LinkedIn will help us to identify the company and the contact. It's hard to get a casual contact from these online sites, but if you have the professional LinkedIn membership, it's easier so you can do online introductions. And actually, we have done it quite often, especially in the markets that we are not as predominant, and it has helped us a lot. So using LinkedIn could be a good tool too, but also it helps to have a good digital strategy. Again, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube is more a promotional, more a consumer tool, but more on the trade and B2B, we would strongly recommend that you use LinkedIn. Now, be careful if you go and do an online or influencer campaign. Be careful with the numbers of followers and content, especially in Brazil and Colombia. The largest, the largest influencer or the biggest influencer in the region is this lady Anita with 65 millions. But she's well, she doesn't look too professional. So I'm not sure if you want to be, to relate to that to her brand. So be careful because sometimes, and we have seen that agencies, especially the ones that are located in the US and want to do activities globally, sometimes they can miss the target and can go more for the content and the reach, how many eyes are going to see the ad, or how many people will see the product endorsed instead of the content. So be sure to have similar influencers and people that what you have in the US. However, be careful because the change, the structure, the algorithm is very different in Latin America than in the US. Uh, this the agents. Let me go back to the presentation, but I was be careful of the engagement of followers versus content. We talked about it. Try to use own resources, but be very careful too, especially with translation. We have seen many Mexican Americans, Brazilian Americans, Colombian Americans that were born in the US. And again, trying to be very polite and careful, there are some idioms that have changed over time. So I remember I was with the best friend of my father-in-law's best friend, and he was giving us these idioms, Mexican idioms that were outdated. I remember my grandfather using them, so um, they're not how we talk now in Mexico. So be very careful about that. We have seen that in many cases, people asking us to proofread the information, and it can be different, again from time to time, and also from country to country. We have programs in 8 different countries in Latin America, and we have at some points we have 6 different materials because the language and the specific terms and even the grammar is different in Argentina than in Chile and obviously in Brazil where they speak Portuguese. So make sure that you talk and you obtain feedback from native speakers. Probably the ATOs can help you because they have local staff, but at some point they may not be able to assist in the individual companies. So try to find, I mean, they can give you references. Translation services in Latin America are much cheaper than in the US, but you can also get a US company to help you with that. And what I said before, again, it's easy to centralize in the US. I say here, avoid the use of media agencies in the US, but also just make sure that they know how the algorithms work in other countries. For instance, in the US, you will pay $3,000 plus $2,000 of boosting for a big influencer. With that, you will get a year-long campaign in Mexico or in Guatemala. So again, the algorithms are different. The agencies are expensive, and these companies, or these influencers in Latin America, they know the game. So they know that if a US company will call them, they can charge more. So again, try to go locally. That will help you. And be very careful of local changes in regulation, in the algorithm. In Mexico, just an example, in Mexico, it changed 4 times in 1 quarter. So we had to go and change, how we were investing in Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube. We basically recommend that, an investment or $100 or $200 per month is reasonable and is good. But this is when you are already in the market. So again, we're talking about promotional activities. Social media can help you a lot. And also Google Ads. That's very, very helpful because the buyer will, or the consumer will use the internet as reference. We talked about it in other webinars. They tend to go offline, but they have references online. So they will visit one or two websites before doing the purchase or do a search of your product. So it's good that you have your information online, hopefully in Spanish or Portuguese. Now, digital marketing tools, email marketing or newsletters are very popular, and we still get them a lot from the US, but make sure that they're translated to Spanish or Portuguese. Even though the buyers are, the international buyers most likely will be bilingual, if you send a letter in English, probably it'll go to your spam or it will be just deleted. So try to go that extra mile or sending at least the title in Spanish or Portuguese, so they can understand your product, and then you can have a reference, you can have a call. Now, what we do here as a marketing consulting firm working for Busara is that usually we do that, what I mentioned, trying to filter the contacts, getting the reports, going to LinkedIn, using our database. But then, as we have to filter or invite many companies for a trade mission, what we do is that we send a personalized newsletter. So they will see Dear Pedro or Dear Lydia or Dear Baman, and then you'll have the message. So you can use MailChimp. It's more efficient than sending email by email. And then you can, get the responses and get statistics out of that. With that, what we do is that from 100 emails that we sent, we have a track of who opened the email, and then we can make the call. Or we can just try to find another way to the ones that didn't open the email and try to find out if they moved from the position or if they basically are out of the company. But again, it's trying to be more efficient because basically, and as you know, you international, you are exporters. Basically, it's a fishing game. So we need to, help them, bite, faster with the information that we provide. Again, the investment in digital media in this means, in general, in Latin America is cheaper than in the US. So this can help you, again, being more efficient. And again, you can have one newsletter translated, off it goes. Or you can have that LinkedIn activity, and it can help you with your efforts. Also, I'm not sure if I hope that you're starting exploring AI. AI, it's not Terminator. It's not that we're gonna, be dominated by machines. Hopefully, we won't. But AI basically is reducing the interface. So it's having a conversation with your phone or your computer. And we are experimenting with AI, and we have found that the Gemini, the one from Google, is working better than ChatGPT or the one from Microsoft. And if you have an Android phone, Gemini actually is helping a lot. So you can ask it to make the translations. Again, don't rely on it too much. Probably have it proofread, but it can help you being more efficient in your efforts. And again, on this, going out and getting the baits ready and trying to fish. As I said, Facebook is still widely used, Facebook and Instagram, and 100 to $200 in specific markets is more than enough for investment in these markets. Assuming that the audience here is looking to expand their businesses into Latin America. Now, reaching out to these activities, and we cover them in other seminars. Make sure that you visit regularly USDA or the ESRTG trade missions. I'm talking about Busara, but also if you have products from other regions, SASTA, Food Export, and Miatco, they may have trade missions too. They are resources for you. Busara, we are rethinking the trade missions to Central America, and I know that they have, Busara has some activities in South America as well. And actually, there's USDA as a whole. They're organizing a trade mission next week, unfortunately, to Colombia, and they make one every year. So make sure that you go into USDA trade missions, and you could find, what events are planned. Again, it's too short notice, and probably they have it closed, but they have a trade mission in Colombia in the next weeks. So that's good because you network, you know the associations, and also you can do and try to do business. Also, U.S. holidays are sponsored mostly through the U.S. Embassy. They do the 4th of July, they do Thanksgiving, they do Christmas dinner sometimes, and they do trade specific events. So they will invite trade members, some importers, some of the association reps. So that's also that you can keep an eye on. And again, if you have a focus market in this region, just contact them and tell them, if you have anything coming, we would like to consider. It's voluntary. Sometimes they even have the diplomatic courier. I don't know how's it's called. So the exporting of that product is very easy, and you can have a quick and easy product tasting in one of these events. Again, if you need more information, we can help you with that. We have worked with many of them many years. Also, we've talked about doing trade shows in the US, get in touch with FAS. And in advance, again, if you are planning on exporting to South America, go to just Google the name of the trade show, delegation, and the country, your country market, the target country that you are interested in. Because, for instance, they have 8 different delegations from Latin America going to National Restaurants Association trade show in Chicago. So you can ask them, just a call, and we would love to have you in our booth, and you'll have a guided delegation going to your booth, and you'll have 6 to 8 buyers at once, and with again efficiently talking to them because you were going to do the show anyway. So we know that they do the confectionery trade show. I think that is in Vegas. They do National Restaurants Association. They do the private label trade show and also IFPA. So again, look it up, and it could be good for you. And again, it's very easy to get access to the resources with that. Trade shows, international trade shows. At the beginning of the call, we were talking with Lydia about trade shows that we have in Mexico, for instance. At this time, USAR is only doing this large trade show in ANTAD. We are planning a strategy in a couple of weeks, so hopefully we can include more trade shows into the plan. But I sent you the list, and I'll remind them right after this. Distributor shows. If you already have distribution in those countries, they do road shows. It's very common for the large importer or the retailer to do road shows, and they do a closed event per invitation. So it's mostly done to consumers in case of distributors, or to floor managers in case of retailers. Walmart does them all throughout the region, and we have seen them. We have seen that food service distributors are more open to do this type of shows, and also training and incentives for your importers sales force. And this is something that probably we have not gone far with, but when we do the trade missions, especially the one that we do in December, there are companies that are already mature, and at some point I asked them, why do you keep coming if you know everybody? And they ask, because this helps me to retrain my buyer. And also at some points we can help them and help them do more, more than sales, one-on-one meetings. They can do training for their importers and for their clients. So that's one of the things that we can do. It's also, it's a sales meeting, but it's also training that can complement the additional contacts that you may have in these events. Again, I always promote the trade mission that we do in December, because even though it's based in Mexico City and Monterrey, we are bringing 5 buyers from Latin America, so it can complement, and we can create a large marketplace in 5 days, visiting the country, the trade, and the city. And for whoever has been in these missions, we're twitching a bit. We are not doing the traditional going downtown Mexico City. We're doing more events, again, trying to evolve on the things that we're doing with Wusara. Again, I cannot have general information in Spanish. A brochure, a one-pager will help you with that. Here you can see, what the Idaho Potato Commission does. They have their varieties. They have it in Spanish, and you can use Spanish and English. They can do Spanish, and you can combine the language. The thing is that they can read the context and have more graphical information. So whatever you have in the US could do with a simple translation, you just print them and you're good to go. And the training that you can do to the distributors and the and the service staff. Again, here are the trade shows that we have mentioned before. Again, good to remind. The one that I still recommend is Espacio Food Show and Alimentaria in Peru. Those two are the ones that actually uh, are good for you in the short term. And then again, you can start planning for 2025. As usual, they repeat each year. But yeah, these first three, Espacio Food Show, Alimentaria, and Alimentec, would be the ones that we would recommend the most. And Expo Super, good to, I mean, walk the show, but again, Brazil, I would put it in third tier once you have Chile, Peru, or Colombia, mastered. Now, talking about retail promotions, assuming that you're already selling to the market and then you are trying to push more of your product to retail. First is that we recommend that you consider 10 to 15% of your export price assigned to marketing costs. That could be, I mean, we get a question, should the importer pay for it or should I cover it? Just build it on the price. Obviously, you don't want to lose, but at some point, you need to invest in these markets. You need to invest time. You may not need to invest some resources to get the word out and have your product be known. Again, we know that these are quality products that are, standardized quality, U.S. made, but that really doesn't resonate with the buyers because they have other offerings. So basically, your brand is not known. First, you need to make it known to the trade component, to the buyer, but also you need to make it known to the consumer. So we recommend that you do tasting and sampling. It's a high cost per contact. In average could be $50 plus 10, 15% more for administrative purposes. And basically, we recommend doing, start small. Do a 4-week, 10-store program to start and then see how it goes. And if you actually, get traction from buyers and actually it helps you developing the category, it works. I mean, we have seen it, and even though it's limited, it gets the word out, and it helps you, start, the program. But we recommend that you also combine it with retail marketing and um, and social media, so you can complement it, and you can do online and offline. I'm not covering digital because we did it last session, I think. So I'm just going real quick on trying to cover the gaps. So again, tasting could be around $50 per day per person. Giveaways are attractive as usual. People just like free stuff, but we recommend that you go for cheaper giveaways. Here, the brand actually is more powerful. Again, and trying to be very respectful. Having a US branded giveaway actually attracts people. So that's a good hook for them to try your product then. So it's a good approaching tool. Make sure that you use, branded pens or anything plastic, functional plastic items. If you sell a fruit, just a quick cutter or a spoon or something like that. You don't want to invest too much, especially in these stages. Probably I would focus the investment in sampling and tasting, and again have the giveaway just as a draw tool to attract the consumer. Seasonal promotions, we talked about it. Christmas, just be mindful that in South America, Christmas is in summer. So I mean, they like the Christmas, but they also like the summer promotions. And also, if you are doing cooking demos, trying to showcase the product, as we talked in road shows or even with consumers, integrate local cuisine habits. So it's not that they all eat hot dogs or they eat northwestern seafood. Just again, try to be more curious about how you can do it in an efficient way. Because if you want to do something more elaborate, if you want to cook pizza in the supermarket, well, you need at least you need an oven. So you need to make it easier and quicker. And there are many examples of Latin American cuisine in Brazil, Chile, Argentina, and Colombia, where they can feature your products and adapt it to a local recipe. Um, Again, also, if you need a recipe development, we know a couple of chefs, so that can also, help if you need a reference. And if you are in food service, the menu promotions, we recommend that you manage them through distributor, but try to have contact with the end user, with the chain, because we don't want that money to go directly to the distributor's margin. You need to use those marketing dollars to do marketing, not to help, not to help on the margin. Because if you are in the branded program, forgot what's the name now, but if you are in the refund program from USARA, you need to prove the activity and the money needs to be very clear where it goes and where it comes. Here also, I'm pretty sure that you are versed with USARA resources, but they have a program where you can get refunded 50% of all your marketing efforts in specific markets. So that's a very good tool for you because you pay, I mean, you have skin in the game, but you get a lot of support from USARA as well. And the traditional stuff, these regions, South America, I mean, they have gone digital, but they're still relying on some traditional tools, probably something that you don't use in the US anymore. 10 cards, staff training. We may have featured dishes just as in the US, but again, going all the way digital and try to be all the way efficient in cost and doing everything digital is not here yet. So you will see a combination between online and offline. So again, just consider it and see how it can go. Again, they still use banners. Some of the stores in Brazil and Colombia, they have monitors, but they still rely on traditional banners. You can see here the sleeves that you have on this store right here for the snacks. So again, it continues, but it's a hybrid between what you see in the U.S. and what's here. Now, um, again, I cannot stress enough about this. Understand the cultural differences. Wherever you come from, you don't want your country to be generalized or have a stereotype. So Brazilians not always like to have parties. Colombia is not about the beaches, or Chile about the wines, or Peru about their food. It's a very important component of of the culture and the trade, but you need to understand exactly how the target works at your level. If you are selling processed foods, it's hard for you just to go with a soccer ball if you go into Brazil. So you need to adapt the marketing messages and the visuals. Just make clear who you're talking to. And again, we talked about it. Probably try to contact a local person or somebody to confirm if your tone is correct and the message is correct. But it has to be adapted. Uh, Build the authentic connection with the consumers. Again, it's not we are the USA and we are going to do it here. Again, there's a lot of national pride in South American countries. So we need to be very, very sensitive about this. Not all the markets will take all the products. And for instance, we had a company that was trying to sell tortilla chips to Mexico. Didn't make sense at the beginning, but then it did make sense. It was more efficient and it was cheaper to ship the products from, I believe it was New Mexico to Chihuahua in northern Mexico. So there are products that will make sense. Some cheeses in Colombia will be well taken, but in Brazil or in Uruguay, they're manufacturers, but they do specific products. So they do the Goudas, but they don't have cheddar. So there's a good opportunity in specific products, but again, be careful. There was a company from Texas, I think, or California, that they wanted to sell pão de queijo, which is it's a pastry. Basically it's a cheese bread, very traditional in Brazil, but they wanted to sell it to Brazil. So when we started doing the analysis, we told them, careful because it's going to be hard. It was a frozen product. Obviously, the costs weren't, it didn't make sense. And also, a couple of buyers said, or, it's good quality, is well made, but I can get it better here. So just be careful on what you're selling where. And again, the marketing intelligence helps you a lot, and the contact with the buyers helps you a lot. And again, research local customs and traditions, but go in detail. Once a gentleman congratulated me for Cinco de Mayo, and we don't celebrate that in Mexico. I mean, it was a good, it was a good celebration. It's a regional celebration, but we really don't care about Cinco de Mayo. And he was very, very humble that it was a very important day for us, and it was a weekend right before our Independence Day, and he didn't know. So again, have a good research of local customs and traditions, but go in detail. Uh, Holidays, you don't want to be there on a holiday because then you will lose a day, and we've done it. So that those things again, try to go more in detail. We talked about it. You're exporters, so you're explorers. So you go more in detail than the average, exporter, the average business person or entrepreneur. So again, try to go more in detail. And thankfully, and thank you for being here. But that's what you try to do here. And we've talked about this before, and I'll go real quick on this. Sustainability and quality. Country of origin is not really important. The first attribute is value. So if you say, coming from the USA or minority owned, women owned, those type of values are very important for the US, not so for Latin American countries. The most important thing is value and quality, and then price or cost. Communicate your brand quality and the equation of what you provide, uh, and again, try not to impose, but also don't become apologetic about not knowing too much about the market. We have seen that, people, oh, I'm sorry I didn't make my research. I'm sorry and I've heard this. I'm American. I'm really sorry. I mean, you're we all are proud of our countries, but again, just try to just go over and reach out to what you want to do and increase these connections with the trade so they know they're authentic. Again, it takes a lot of time, more than other countries, more than other regions. Probably Europe or China would be faster. But here we have seen business happening 3 or 4 years later or after the first contact. So again, be patient in this market and the others, and the other Latin Americans that we cover, and basically, you'll be successful. We've covered this before. Natural foods and beverage with beneficial ingredients. Natural and organic products are coming along well. Um, I forget the name of the beneficial teas. I forget always the term, nutrigenics, something like that. No. Convenient options for busy consumers, especially in online grocery shopping. They are getting more ready to cook or ready to garnish. And again, they want authenticity in what they want to do. So basically, that's what I had. I said that it would be a short presentation, but I took too long. So we can go back and have a quick discussion on what we are talking. So we have some people here still, thankfully. What questions do you have? Oops, where's the chat? Here's the chat. Here's the message. Any questions? Any comments? Anything?
Lydia. Lydia's got her hand up. Go
No,
ahead,
I
Lydia.
was just going to say, very good job. Thank you. I'm
Oh,
sure I'll
thank
have
you.
some questions and come back to you and send you a quick email or something. That's a new market for us. So the advice to make sure that we go with the USDA, or I'm sorry, US delegation basically, is a really good idea, because if we don't know them, you guys do, and you guys have vetted them before. So
Thank you. What country are you specifically talking about? Is that also South America or just a specific country?
yeah, mostly Chile is the one that I'm mostly interested right now. And Brazil, but maybe not so much Brazil right now, because we've already got some contacts from
Mhm.
distributors in Chile.
Mhm.
And I just want to make sure that they've already been vetted by Wasada, because it was a trade lead from you guys. But
Oh,
I just
okay.
don't want to go into the country by myself and say, oh, who are you? I'd
I
rather go
agree.
with you guys, because you guys have already done the legwork, and you know who's a good company and who's reliable and who I can trust.
Great. And let us know. We are not doing the Espacio trade show, but the people at the embassy, they're good friends. Mary Jane is very good. No, Mary Ho. And yeah, when you need, we can connect you.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Great. Sure. Oh, I lost the.
All right, Marco, I think we got one in the chat here. What's the best way to promote products in the dessert industry?
Dessert industry. Well, if it goes to retail, tastings are the best, but social media also helps a lot. I think there you can. Depends who made the question, if I can ask. Just trying to have more context about the product.
Bauman Fine Foods.
Oh, Bauman, hi. Yeah, about the dessert, knowing your products, I would say is more about the distributors, because you go more to the, the pastries and the dessert, of course, but I would say more on the food service. Try to get food service. You did the trade show once, but you were in different category. I think that category now with the new focus could be good. Same comment. Probably consider that with our friends from Chile, and I know Colombia. They also have a good industry, and we have a couple of contacts there. Let me ask. Let me try to get the contact of Roberto, who is the. I'm not kidding. He's the Marshmallow King. So he distributes this type of. So I'll send you his contact.
Any other questions?
Hey, Marco, John Chung.
John.
Actually, I've been in South America, many years ago, and you think they're ready for the non-alcohol beverage?
Oh, alcohol and beverage. We talked about it last session. It depends in each country. It's similar to what you have in others. You're talking about Boswell's, right? Or similar to that, or
Or non-alcohol?
alcohol?
Yeah, non-alcohol, yeah.
Yeah, it's harder, John, because basically, you have a large, there are more wine and beer consumers.
Yes.
So it could be hard. I would recommend more going into the central part, probably Colombia. Colombia is a more balanced market. I think we did that show. Maybe, yeah, I would think Colombia, Panama, and even Mexico. But yeah, with the products that you have, probably that's where you would have a better chance, because both Chile and Argentina, they're too national about their wines, and they get them very cheap. Brazil.
That's why no point to bring U.S. wine to Chile.
Yeah, it's hard there, but yeah, I would say probably more Colombia or even Mexico would be a better option for you.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Sure. We have Elsa.
Elsa.
Hello, Marco. Thank you so much for the information. I just wanted to ask for your thoughts about Venezuela. We are a Majul Date company, and we are traveling next week to the USDA trade mission for Colombia. And we heard that some Venezuelan importers are going to be there. So with all the situation, I mean, I guess that we all know the social and the government situation that's happening there, but I wanted to hear if you know anything about like the business side and what can we expect from importers.
Yeah, thank you for the call. Yeah, it's a good thing that you're going to that mission. Yeah, Colombia has become the sourcing hub for Venezuela. As you know, Maduro just got reelected, and it's a very strange situation because you have, the large mass of population there restricted and more on the, I would say, state-owned or state-controlled economy. But then you have a very small a part of a population they still have privileges and still have some trade happening. I wouldn't expect much. They usually buy, full container or half container. But I would recommend you that everything that you do it abiding Colombian laws. And just once you're in the call, you may have a couple of officials. Just understand if there's any restriction or any sanction for U.S. products going into Venezuela. I don't think there are, especially in agriculture. but just make sure that you get information, talk to the people. As we said before, if you want to sell to these high-risk countries, get payment in advance. And the supply could be, well, couldn't be tricky because you can ship to the Pacific. But again, just make sure that you have made your due diligence and talk to the to Ana Salinas, who is the trade marketing specialist in Colombia. And again, be cautious about, especially because of this situation. Sometimes it looks too good to be true. And these type of companies that sell to Venezuela, we call them diverters. And I think you have them in the US. So you sell in one country and they ship to other. Just make sure that they tell you things up front and you don't get any surprises that your product ends up in Cuba or some other strange country.
What that word would be in Spanish?
Yeah. Colombian and Venezuelan buyers are in Spanish.
Oh no, but that word that you said, sorry, about like re-importing
diverters.
Okay.
Diverters, yeah, or re-exporters. It happens a lot between Taiwan and China and Japan and some other countries, but yes, re-exporters. That's how they're called.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Well, so we have time. Well, just advertising. We will do some trade missions going to Idaho, Oregon, California, and Nevada in the next weeks. I will be going to Washington State as well. So we're starting the activity, and actually we restarted the inbound trade missions going to your states this year after 3 years or 4 years of pandemic. So maybe it's too late for registering, but please try to go to the wusara.org website. Most of the trade missions have been reactivated. And again, as we work with federal funds, sometimes we have to plan ahead and we don't have, we cannot react as fast as we can or we want. But just be mindful of these events. And I'm talking for the ones in Latin America. We have these inbound trade missions going to the US with delegations of buyers. We will start doing them, repeatedly every year. We have a large trade show in Guadalajara, which is a retail trade show. It happens in March 6th to the 8th, I think. It's called ANTAP. Registration is not up at the WUSARA website, but it will be, and just keep getting notifications from the WUSARA website. And I think we have 1 or 2 spots for the trade mission that I mentioned in December. So we're planning on that one. And if you register, it will give us more time to give you a better service and give you better contacts and follow up on everything.